Hello and welcome to Round 9 here at Grand Prix Pittsburgh. Maria Bartholdi in the booth, joined by Andrew Brown. We have Grixis Energy on the left side of your screen and Blue-Black Affinity on the right side. We saw Mono-Black Affinity early in the day yesterday. It was really cool, so I'm interested to see what Darren is bringing this time, and we are off to the races.
Yeah, looking at Darren's deck list, he's kind of a Grixis. No, he's a blue-black improvised deck. So we have cards like Herald of Anguish, Battle at the Bridge, Tezzeret the Schemer, Karn, Scion of Urza. So he's really looking to get a bunch of artifacts into play and then eventually play these planeswalkers that work with artifacts or these huge bombs like Herald of Anguish.
Awesome. Tezzeret, welcome to the party here in the hands of Darren Polterak. Hunter Cochran, Grixis Energy. This is a little bit of a unique deck as well.
Yeah, it's a bit of a throwback to when the other Grixis Energy decks were powerful, and they've kind of fallen out of favor due to their weakness to the red deck. And here's one of the key cards.
Blast from the past.
Exactly. One of the main attractions to actually playing blue and red is you get access to this card in Whirler Virtuoso. It's just really powerful stabilizing.
So Whirler Virtuoso, I mean, are we sad a little bit about Goblin Chain Whirler running this in our deck?
Not really. It can just make energy, or you can, after they play the Goblin Chain Whirler, then you can kind of commit.
Sure.
But I think there's a lot of cool tension involved there where the player using Whirler Virtuoso has to make those decisions whether or not they actually want to make the Thopters in the face of the Goblin Chain Whirler.
All right, we just saw Navigator's Compass be played in Standard right there.
Yeah. Did you not expect that?
No.
Oh, okay.
Did you?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay. Well, you have the deck list. Come on, this isn't fair.
Well, I am hoarding it, so.
All right, so this is the card that was so much controversy, caused so much controversy in Limited, whether or not you should put it in your deck. So I love it. He's just playing these cheap artifacts to help improvise.
Yeah, exactly. Like his main game plan is just to get as many artifacts into play so that he can tap them to use the what is that mechanic called?
Improvise.
Improvise.
That's it.
Improvise. So in R&D, when you first get in, there's a period of time where there are release sets where you're not working on, and Aether Revolt was my quote-unquote black hole where I don't know much of the cards.
Okay. All right, so are we seeing the Antiquities War here?
Well, we are seeing the first chapter of the Antiquities War Resolve. A very awesome card here, as you can see. So chapters 1 and 2, you get to impulse for an artifact, and then on the final chapter, all of your dinky artifacts like the Navigator's Compass become 5/5s.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I'm excited
too.
This is
excellent. He's got so many out on the battlefield right now. Sorcerer's Spyglass is what he was able to find off that top 5 peak as well. He'll get another look next turn before all of those are becoming 5/5s. No Fear of Fumigate, or excuse me, Settle the Wreckage, or anything like that.
Yeah.
From Hunter Cochran either.
Yeah, just looking at these deck lists, I would definitely have to give the advantage just to Darren overall because Hunter, unlike those Teamer Energy variants early on, is not as capable as putting a ton of pressure onto Darren. So if Darren has a ton of time to just set up and get these artifacts and play his big bombs, I think he's going to take it down pretty easily.
All right, well, Hunter Cochran has added the Scarab God to the battlefield, but you know what? Let's look at the top 5. You know what I want? A Navigator's Compass. And that's exactly what Darren is going to pick up here. Just another cheap artifact that next turn is going to be a 5/5.
Well, luckily Darren has that Sorcerer's Spyglass in his hand where he can render the Scarab God into a vanilla 5/5. That comes back, but more or less vanilla.
All right, there you go. There's a Spyglass. We're going to take a look at Hunter Cochran's hand here.
Not very exciting, honestly.
No.
Yeah, Vraska's Contempt and Magma Spray, not really the cards Hunter's looking for in this matchup. He really wants cards like Abrade and card advantage cards like Karn and Chandra, Torch of Defiance.
So Darren, by the way, he's got a PhD in archaeology, by the way, and he just got back from 1.5 years doing research in Romania. Comes onto the scene here with this blue-black affinity deck.
Yeah, I mean, archaeology, artifacts, makes sense to me.
The Spyglass is, of course, naming Scarab God. Oh, yeah, he's very on brand.
Yes.
I love it. Well, what a way to start off our morning, watching this really cool deck about to do its thing here in the hands of Darren.
So one negative that I can see from the Antiquities War happening here is Hunter can actually cast Vraska's Contempt targeting the Sorceress Spyglass once the third chapter has resolved to possibly be able to use his Scarab God. Because, as we saw, his Search for Azcanta put a Torrential Gearhulk into the graveyard. Pretty scary stuff.
Yeah.
And then he can reanimate the Torrential Gearhulk, flashback the Vraska's Contempt that's in there. So, Hunter's got a bit of fight in him, given that Darren has this very strong opening with the Antiquities War.
Navigator's Compass buffering Darren's life total as well. He's got a second one. Get him about 6 life so far this game. Scarab God here entering combat.
Just classic limited gameplay, 5/5 attacking.
All right, here we go. Chapter 3 of the Antiquities War.
This is exciting.
All right, there's a response of a magma spray to get rid of one of the artifacts that Darren's created here.
Yeah, that's servo from the servo schematic biting the dust.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a fatal push from Darren.
I see 6 artifacts
6?
from Darren.
Oh yeah, you're right, 6.
Oh wow, and Hunter's magma spray turning on Darren's fatal push onto the Whirler Virtuoso.
Only 1 energy left.
And that's
him up.
Well, yeah, he was attacking for 30 damage with 0 blockers.
That was awesome. Game 1 goes to Darren Polterak with blue-black affinity. And Hunter's got to be thinking a little bit of, what just happened to me?
Well, I think that's just exactly how he drew it up. This is kind of one of his dream matchups here, and he handily took it down.
That was really, really cool. Okay, so Grixis energy, does it have any way to disrupt what Darren is trying to do here?
Well, the answer is yes, definitely. Looking at Michael's sideboard, I see, looking at Hunter's sideboard, I see Negate, Duress, 3 copies each.
Okay.
There's also Glint-Sleeve Siphoner and potentially Karn that he would like to bring in, but he's definitely going to bring in the 3 copies of Duress and Negate.
Try and get those Antiquities Wars, make sure they absolutely do not resolve.
Exactly.
And how about Darren versus Grixis energy?
Well, he's got a lot of options, He can kind of bring in Vraska's Contempt. He can bring in more Planeswalkers. He can actually potentially bring in Golden Demise, which can take out all those Thopter tokens. But I don't see much else. I think he'll bring in the Negates, which he'll try and, fight Hunter on the angle of negate your negate, and we'll get that kind of gameplay. But post-sideboard, I think Hunter improves most, while Darren is not going to really change up too much.
The Antiquities War, really cool to see this card in the standard deck.
Exactly.
We saw it a little bit in Modern at Grand Prix Vegas.
Right.
In a couple of different decks as well.
Yeah, the Clark Clan Ironworks deck, I hope I said it correctly, definitely a good way to utilize the Antiquities War because it's essentially a spell.
It's kind of the same thing.
It helps you dig and it finishes the game. It's an all-in-one kind of card.
I had a couple of friends who were running it in Affinity.
Oh, very cool, very cool.
As well, which was kind of neat, and had some success with it. So tell me a little bit about the Antiquities War.
So we're making sagas. It's really.
By the way, I love sagas.
Me
Excellent.
too. Yeah, making a new card type's really, really tough sometimes to kind of evaluate the power level. And this is one of the cards where, we're not exactly super happy if this is one of like the best cards in the environment, but if it's in a deck like Darren's where it's like a fringe deck that can win out of nowhere that will do well a couple times in a standard format, we like that because it's fresh, it's new, and it's really interesting.
I remember an article that was posted about kind of the development of the sagas and how like Richard Garfield was helping out a little bit on the set consulting, and he was very excited by the idea of the sagas and went home and he designed like these kind of mock-up versions, which were really cool looking actually. Yeah,
he was the one who definitely had the initial idea, and then Dave Humphries, the set lead, executed on just his vision, and then we got a lot of input from the creative department on what kind of stories that we wanted to tell. So for each saga that we have in the set, there is a story to tell.
So what story is the Antiquities War telling? Do you know?
Oh, wow. This is definitely
I'm putting you on the spot here.
This is definitely not my department. Apparently it's Titania's song. Thank you, Brian David Marshall, on the card viewer. I'm assuming you are the person who knows.
I mean, he is our Pro Tour historian.
Yes,
Brian
he
David
definitely
Marshall.
is.
I actually learned a lot about the original history of Dominaria with Urza and Mishra and all that stuff because of those completely accurate history videos. I didn't know any of it before, so I kind of had to learn. And boy, the story was crazy back then.
Yes, it was, and also, by the way, excellent job on those very historically accurate videos.
Thank you. The
I had a
production
blast
level
watching them.
was quite high, if I do say so myself.
One more note I definitely want to give on Darren's deck, though,
Right.
is sideboarding with a deck like this can be pretty tough. Like, a lot of his pieces are very important to his game plan, so it's really tough to figure out what exactly you actually want to take out of your sideboard or what you want to put in from your sideboard. Because even just an anecdote of mine, at Pro Tour Eldritch Moon, I was playing the Temur Emerge deck, and I happened to top 8 that event, but during the course of the event, I didn't know how to sideboard, and often I just didn't sideboard because so many of my pieces were so integral to working that I just didn't want to take them out. So I can definitely see Darren in this situation not exactly knowing how he wants to sideboard.
And that's a really interesting note about his deck, too, the various kinds of decks you can play, and one that leans so heavily on doing exactly what it wants to do as consistently as possible versus being more of a toolbox deck where you can kind of tweak your sideboard and your deck itself to kind of be whatever it needs to be in any current situation.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Navigator's Compass might be an independently weak Magic card, but it's so integral to his game plan that, if he takes it out, then he might not have enough artifacts to power out cards like Herald of Anguish and Battle at the Bridge.
All right, so players shuffling up here for game number 2. Darren Polterak took game number 1 with blue-black affinity Hunter Cochran on Grixis Energy. Just graduated from Stony Brook with a master's in physics, by the way, for Hunter Cochran.
Wow.
So congratulations. We've got a PhD and a master's sitting in our feature match area. No big deal.
And they are definitely playing like they have it, too. I've been very impressed with the play so far.
Hunter's got a few Grand Prix top 8s and a win under his belt as well. Let's take a look at our opening hands here. For game number 2, Hunter does not like it. Takes a peek at the top card.
So Hunter just drew a card when he looked at his 7. Kind of the rabbit holing, as they like to call it.
You
never look?
Never. No.
Never look?
No.
Can I have the reasoning behind why you never look?
Because I don't want to have decisions. I want my decisions to live in their own life. Does this make sense? I'm not saying it very well. I don't want my decision making to be influenced by what could have been, rather than I should just be making the correct decision based on the information that I had. Do you know what I mean?
No, yeah, I completely understand your angle.
Why? Do you look?
Oh, I look all the time.
Doesn't it just feel bad though?
Do I use the information for good? No. But I sure do love knowing.
Oh no, I just can't. Just a feel bad moment for me. Hashtag team never look, right? Yeah.
But sometimes when we are playtesting in R&D, we will do that just to kind of extrapolate how the game would have gone if I kept this hand or did something like that.
Oh, Hunter Cochran peeking once again. He's got to go to 5 though here.
Yeah, his hand didn't look very good. He had 2 Whirler Virtuosos and only 1 land and 4 drops, so he definitely has to ship this one back, while I think Darren is just content with the 7.
So Energy has taken, a bit of a back seat recently. Haven't seen it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's still strong enough to be playing in Standard?
That's a tough question. As you said, a lot of the energy cards, like Whirler Virtuoso and also Glintsleeve Siphoner, have a weakness to some of the red cards like Goblin Chain Whirler and Lightning Strike. So the snowball factor that the energy deck can have isn't as powerful now that people have decided to put so many copies of those cards in their red decks.
If you're just joining us, a really unique list in the hands of Darren Polterak here in blue-black affinity using Improvise and the Antiquities War to make his deck work. We're playing a bunch of really cheap artifacts, including Navigator's Compass. And we just saw him attack for 30 damage, I believe.
Yes, we did.
In game number 1 from Chapter 3 on the Antiquities War. All right, well, Hunter Cochran is going to keep this 5. We've got a scry here. And it's a scry to the top. All right, we are underway here in game number 2, round 9 here at Grand Prix Pittsburgh.
Yeah, looking at Hunter's hand, this definitely looks like a hand where he can actually come back from the deficit of mulliganing to 5 because he's got a turn 2 Glint Sleeve Siphoner to potentially kind of snowball and draw a bunch of cards and get on par with Darren.
Inventor's Fair is the land from Darren Polterak.
Oh, I would love it to see if he can play 2 more artifacts to trigger the Inventor's Fair.
Okay, let's see it. Let's see it. There's a look at Glint Sleeve Siphoner.
Yeah, Glint Sleeve Siphoner definitely one of the reasons these black-based energy decks were powerful in its heyday because, you know, you can just kind of snowball the game so easily from turn 2 on.
All right, we've already got 3 artifacts in play for Darren, by the way. Glint Sleeve Siphoner attacking in 4-2. And there's the second one. And like you said, if anything can get him out of this mulligan to 5, you're looking at it right there on the board, 2 copies of the Siphoner.
Yeah, definitely really, really strong opening from Hunter, given that he had a mulligan to 5.
By the way, that card that Darren played earlier, I didn't immediately remember it.
Of course, it's a Cog Workers Puzzle Knot.
It's a Cog Workers Puzzle Knot for 2. When it enters the battlefield, you obviously create a servo, and that's where we got that servo that Darren has. You can pay 1 and a white, which I don't think will ever happen. Sacrifice it, you get to make another servo.
It will happen because, you know, as you mentioned, we have limited All-Star Navigator's Compass.
Oh, you're right.
In Darren's
We
deck.
do have Navigator's
There's
Compass.
also stronger limited All-Star Prophetic Prism in Darren's deck. So he has a lot of ways to make different colors, so I could definitely see him eventually breaking this Cog Workers Puzzle Knot for another blocker or another 5/5 from the Antiquities War.
This deck's so cool. All right, there's Sorcerer's Spyglass from Darren, and we're going to take a look at Hunter's hand. A Braid and a land.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what Darren will name, given he has no targets right now. If I were on the spot there, I think I would probably name Whirler Virtuoso, as that is the card that I saw in Game 1, and it's most likely to be in Hunter's deck, because I don't really think he's ever going to side that card out.
Right.
And yeah, even with this mulligan to 5, I think Hunter is kind of favored right now. These 2 Glint Sleeve Siphoners are basically unopposed because the servo can't block due to them having Menace.
All right, so Spyglass is once again naming the Scarab God.
The Scarab God, gotcha.
All right, so we're going to be able to draw an extra card here for Hunter.
I guess that makes sense because I think Darren thinks that all of Hunter's energy will be sunk into these Glint Sleeve Siphoners rather than Whirler Virtuoso.
All right, another attack in for 4, dropping Darren down to 14, gain some more energy, be able to draw some more cards here for Hunter Cochran. And we've got a Chandra here. A Braid is going to take care of the Sorcerer's Spyglass, adding some mana.
Yeah, really strong sequence from Hunter there. This is definitely putting Darren on the back foot. He really needs to resolve something like the Antiquities War or a Tezzeret here. Or potentially a Karn, and making a Karn Struck would be a 3/3 currently?
Oh yeah, Karn seems super sweet in this deck.
Ah.
Vraska's Contempt will take care of Chandra Torch of Defiance.
So it seems like he brought in the 2 Vraska's Contempts from his sideboard.
Okay. Servo's going to get in there for 1 damage as well. Bing.
Yeah, well, he's not doing anything else.
No, not a 5/5 yet. All right, 2 more cards here for Hunter. Just getting in there with those Siphoners as well.
Yeah, like I said earlier, this is definitely a great spot for Hunter. I think he's going to be able to take this down if Darren doesn't play something that really affects the board.
There's that Whirler Virtuoso hitting the table for Hunter. 6 energy available.
Yeah, I doubt he's actually going to make any Thopters, and I think he's going to continue to just ride these Glint Sleeve Siphoners all the way to the bank.
All right, Prophetic Prism here for Darren.
Yeah, definitely not exactly what he wants right now.
You will need a deck list for the PDQ. So if you
A
haven't
map.
gotten one yet, please do
And just
so as
has
soon
to
as
pass the
possible.
turn back.
We'll be collecting your deck
He is
list
representing a
once we
fatal
start
push
the
here,
game.
though, which would be pretty strong if he had it.
Once again, PDQ players, you need to fill out a deck list if you haven't done so already. Please do that as quickly
All right,
as
we are
possible.
going to make a Thopter here at the end of turn.
As
Okay.
soon as we start our PDQ.
I would generally think that you want to just keep drawing more and more cards with the Siphoner, but I think Hunter's trying to just kind of close the game out as fast as he can because, Darren's cards can be pretty scary. Like, Herald of Anguish can definitely put a huge dent in a Hunter's army and be a gigantic flyer.
Oh, yes. Hunter, though, putting the pressure on both Glint Sleeve Siphoners attacking in, along with the Whirler Virtuoso and the Thopter token. Darren here in the tank. He's going to take it. Another Whirler Virtuoso for Hunter. Darren's life total falls down to 5.
Yeah, given that he didn't have a fatal push, he's really going to need something extra special on this turn to come back from this.
Right, well, we saw his deck really do its thing in Game 1. Game 2 here is kind of an example of what can happen when all the pieces don't necessarily come together.
Right, and I really got to credit Hunter, too. He kept steady, he mulliganed to 5, but he still played a great game, and, these Glint Sleeve Siphoners really doing a lot of work for him.
Yeah, mulligan to 5 was not a death sentence by any means for Hunter. Siphoners having Menace as well. Really great, especially in this current board state when Darren can absolutely no hope of blocking.
Yeah, and I definitely think that Hunter's going to activate those Whirler Virtuosos twice on his end step to provide 2 more points in the air. And, at 6 life, this is going to be a really tough spot for Darren.
Tough enough that he is just going to pack him up here. Hunter Cochran evening things up in game number 2. Grixis Energy all tied up with blue-black affinity.
So, Maria, I gotta say, though, I saw that Hunter kind of, rabbit-holed twice there.
Yes.
And he ended up winning. So
ooh, I like your results-oriented thinking.
I'm not a scientist or a mathematician, but that is one that he rabbit-holed twice, and he won a game.
I think you are providing a correct correlation to what happened previously and the win. 100%.
100%.
All right, so we're going to get a game 3 here between these two. I'm excited to see if the Affinity deck can bring it out once again, show us what it's got. But like you mentioned, Hunter his cards just seem, they're not even flashy. We're not talking about big, enormous Planeswalkers or Glorybringers or whatever. We're talking about Whirler Virtuoso and Glint Sleeve Siphoner. That was all he needed to get the job done.
Yeah, 2-1 Menace, just going the distance.
It's so funny to me, Glint Sleeve Siphoner, to make the decision, am I going to leave 2 creatures back or whatever to potentially try and block this? Am I really going to do that in my life? I don't want them to have more cards.
Yeah, it's Glint Sleeve Siphoner really puts you in a tough spot. You can either sit back, play more blockers, and try to double block it, but that also opens up the potential counterplay of having a removal spell for the opponent. So then your 1 creature can't block the Menace creature.
What deck did you tell me you were going to play if you had come to this tournament? You said Gift.
Blue-white Gift.
Oh, the one that just won Singapore.
Ah, yes.
Good choice.
Oh, thanks.
Good choice. I definitely want to take a look at Darren's list after this tournament. If nothing else, obviously he's doing pretty well on it, made day 2. I want to try it out. It seems super fun.
Yeah, I really love playing decks like this on Magic Online just because it's pretty easy to see what you've kind of done wrong, and then you just get right back in that queue.
Yeah.
Just erase those mistakes. I didn't mess up. My deck's great. Here we go.
All right, so are you considering anything differently as far as sideboarding goes here for game number 3? Darren will get to be on the play again.
Yeah, I think Darren kind of just doesn't want to deal with having removal in his deck, and I think he just wants to kind of stick with his main game plan. Like, I would even take out the Vraska's Contempts, and he even has like a Merchant's Dockhand in his sideboard.
Really?
Yeah, that is the.
I haven't thought about that card for a while.
Yeah, it's a card from Aether Revolt. It's a 1-mana 1/2, where you can pay 3 and a blue and tap it, and tap X untapped artifacts you control to look at the top X cards. Put one of them in your hand, and the rest of them on the bottom of your library. So basically, I think Darren just wants to kind of flood the board with as many artifacts as he can just to power out big spells like Herald of Anguish. He kind of just wants to ignore what Hunter's doing entirely and just play his game.
All right, so we'll see if those Vraska's Contempts remain in Darren's deck, or if he's decided, you know what, we're just going to go streamlined here.
Yeah.
Try and do what my deck does best and not worry about what my opponent is doing, which is, pretty much what we saw game 1.
Yeah. A lot of combo decks. It's probably the same advice. Just kind of ignore your opponent, play your game. Very, very similar to sports advice, too.
I suppose. I'm like, wait a second. But in basketball, you kind of can't ignore your opponent, can you?
Yeah,
I guess some players can.
Maybe that's not the best comparison.
Golf, though. Great advice for golf.
Oh, yeah, definitely great advice for golf. Magic a lot like golf.
It kind of is. Did you know I'm a golfer?
I did not know you were a golfer.
Yeah. Started playing when I was 6 years old. If you could call that play.
Like mini golf, or?
I guess technically it would be. All right, so here we go. Game number 3. Hunter Cochran, Darren Polterak, Grixis Energy versus Blue-Black Affinity. And oh yes, he is playing those Navigator's Compasses.
What's the plural of compass?
Compasses.
Compasses.
It's definitely not Compass Eye.
Well, you're the expert.
I am the expert in all plurals. You don't even want to know the plural of Sphinx. Prophetic Prism here will draw Darren Polterak a card. Back over to Hunter Cochran's going to get an energy, and there's Glintsleeve Siphoner.
Yeah, definitely not as scary with Darren on the play, but as we saw last game, this Glintsleeve Siphoner can really kind of take over the game if left unchecked.
We'll see if Darren has got an answer here to the Siphoner, or if he's just going to continue to do what his deck does, playing some little artifacts, and hopefully later a copy of the Antiquities War.
Yeah, most likely, I think he's just going to ignore this Glintsleeve Siphoner and just play to his game.
All right, Prophetic Prism number 2, draw another card.
And, looking at Darren's deck list, he actually has 3 copies of Metallic Rebuke, which is up and running right now.
In comes the Siphoner for 2. Darren will go down to 18 net and energy here for Hunter Cochran. Ooh, I'm excited. Whirler Virtuoso? All right, it's good.
All right.
We had hopes.
We had hopes. We had dreams. They're gone now.
Back over to Darren.
I think he just drew the Antiquities War.
Okay.
That is definitely what he wants to be doing right now. Because, he can just pretty much ignore Hunter right now. Hunter's just played creatures, essentially, and, they don't have any great abilities. They're essentially vanilla at this point.
The question that I wonder if Darren is thinking about is he trying to get more value yet off the Antiquities War? But he's got to be worried about counter spells from Hunter, so he's just going to slam it here.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 1, let's take a look at the top 5. He's going to reveal an artifact from among them and put it into his hand. The rest go on the bottom. In a random order, found another copy of the Antiquities War.
Unfortunately, not a legal target.
No.
He definitely just wants stuff like Navigator's Compass. That is the card that he wants to draw right now because, it can provide a life buffer and another 5/5 once the Antiquities War kind of goes off. Because Hunter was shielded down, he doesn't have any removal for this Antiquities War.
All right, so he is going to find a copy of that Merchant's Dockhand that we were talking about earlier. Can pay 3 and a blue to tap X untapped artifacts that he controls. Put the top X cards of your library. Look at the X top cards of your library, and you get to put one in your hand. So it's kind of like a little mini chapter 1 and 2.
Right.
Antiquities War.
Merchant's Dockhand, very similar in flavor to the Bomat Courier, as he is a robot dockhand.
Good job, little robot deck. This is the future. Robots are going to be doing all the jobs, and we're just going to be hanging out playing Magic.
Oh, I like that future. It's a pretty good future.
Mark my words. All right, Chandra, Torch of Defiance here for Hunter.
Definitely not that threatening of a Chandra on this board, as all it can really do is kind of do 2 damage to Darren. It could also power out in an Abrade, which might be one of the strongest things Hunter can do. And I think he has one in his hand right now. But abrading a Prophetic Prism, not exactly what you want to do every morning.
All right, well, we're going to attack for now. Siphoner, Virtuoso, Thopter attacking in. He's got to be careful. We saw Darren win, not from out of nowhere. We knew it was going to happen, but...
Yeah, 6 damage, definitely not the most here, as currently it was a 4-turn clock. Yep, and there's that second Merchant's Dockhand, which I think he boarded in, because he only has 1 in his main deck and 1 in his sideboard.
All right, so we've got at least 2 more artifacts coming down this turn, hopefully more.
Unfortunately, what these Merchant's Dockhands do is they kind of turn on Hunter's creature removal like Magma Spray or Harness Lightning.
Sure. All right, here we're going to take a look at Hunter Cochran's hand with Sorceress Spyglass, and there is an Abrade, Harnessed Lightning, another Glint-Sleeve Siphoner, Land, and the Scarab God.
Yeah, pretty tough choice here, but I think he's going to have to name Chandra just because he can't really cast anything else or mute anything else with the Spyglass. Also, that tap land not allowing Hunter to cast the Scarab God next turn, so if you turn off Chandra, then Chandra can't make mana in order to cast the Scarab God.
All right, we'll take a look and see what he's naming.
Also, another thing to notice there, Hunter kind of choked on black mana right now, and with his Fetid Pools coming in tapped, he's really at a premium for black mana.
All right, so the Spyglass does in fact name Chandra. There is Merchant's Dockhand. Number 1 out of Darren's hand.
I would be shocked to see not number 2.
He's got to play number 2, right?
Oh.
He's passing.
Yeah.
Oh, is this Metallic Rebuke?
It could be Metallic Rebuke. It could be Fatal Push. It could be anything. It could be about... I'm not sure. I think it would be in Darren's best interest if it was actually Metallic Rebuke.
All right, here's Harnessed Lightning, targeting that Dockhand.
I believe this is an upkeep Harness Lightning, so that the Glint Sleeve Siphoner can draw an extra card.
There's a look at the card we are wondering if Darren has access to in his hand right now. Metallic Rebuke, Improvise. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3.
But yeah, it definitely looks like Darren is going to be able to change his artifact force into boats.
Boats?
Yeah, boats.
Why boats?
I don't know, they're giant artifacts.
Okay. All right, so Darren getting up from the table here. Looks like he's probably asking a judge, or a couple of judges, a question away from the table, and in fact he is. That's one of the nice things about playing in the feature match area. Judge is always right there if you have a question.
Well, you know, at normal Grand Prix, Judge is also always available as well.
That's true, but it takes like 5 seconds. I want immediate judge access.
No wonder you want the robots to do everything for us. Robot sympathist.
Yeah, I love robots. I used to draw a robot every single day. Did you know that?
I drew a robot every single day.
Fatal Push here to keep Hunter off of that energy. Fatal pushes his own Dockhand.
Very interesting play here from Darren. I believe he's trying to stop Hunter from getting energy so that he can't draw an additional card with that Glint Sleeve Siphoner. And with that Abrade taking down that Spyglass, Chandra now able to just use any ability here.
There's the Bloodfast hitting the yard. Darren down to 11, and yeah, sad this Antiquities War Chapter 3 is not going to look as impressive as it once did.
But yeah, definitely Hunter has to really think about if he actually wants to leave something back to block and leave his Chandra open to attack.
One nice thing about the Whirler Virtuoso as well is if he has access to enough energy, which he doesn't really right now, but he's going to go up to 2, is being able to make Thopters, which can chump these Chapter 3s of these Antiquities War very easily.
Yeah, and it definitely looks like Hunter is very invested in protecting his Chandra because it is 1 turn away from having enough loyalty to ultimate.
Okay, so Chapter 3 here, we have 2 5/5 Prophetic Prisms in play for Darren, whose life total has been managed to be chipped down to 9 from attacks by Hunter Cochran.
Yeah, and actually looking at Darren's hand, I actually see he does have a Vraska's Contempt in his hand. So if he actually wants to go after the Chandra or not is a pretty big decision for him.
So he did keep those Vraska's Contempts in here in game number 3. A little bit of a discussion on whether or not he would try and streamline his deck and take them out for game number 3. First things first is these prisms are getting in, and he did attack the Chandra. Thopter jumps in front of one of them. And here's Tezzeret.
Ooh, very nice.
Haven't thought about this Tezzeret for a while. If I'm being real with you. Tezzeret the Schemer, 2 blue-black. The +1 ability here, create a colorless artifact token. You can sacrifice it to add a mana of any color to your mana pool. Comes in with 5 loyalty. So the -2 has been used. Target creature gets +X, -X until end of turn, where X is the number of artifacts you control. That's pretty cool. And the ultimate, -7, you get an emblem with at the beginning of combat on your turn. Target artifact you control becomes a 5/5. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Tezzeret, a really cool card. I think one of my favorite things to do with it is use the plus and then sacrifice the treasure to cast a Fatal Push, which actually triggers Revolt all by itself.
Oh, nice. Okay, so Tezzeret has been knocked down to 1 here with that attack from the Virtuoso, and there is another Glintsleeve Siphoner, Chandra at 2, and a Scarab God from Hunter Cochran.
Yeah, but it looks like Hunter has just kind of deployed all the threats that he can, so this is really Darren's opportunity to kind of build a big board or cast a Herald of Anguish to try and stop Hunter's assault.
All right, so we are going to plus Tezzeret here.
1 Ethereum Cell coming right up.
Wow. Great job to our people down in the feature max area for having those Ethereum Cell tokens at the ready.
Yeah, and we do know that Darren has 1 Merchant's Dockhand in his hand, and I think what looks like to be a Vraska's Contempt.
Yes. He held on to that Vraska's Contempt, didn't fire it off last turn, just attacked his Prophetic Prisms, which is a strange sentence, but that is what happened.
You don't wake up every day and say, oh, I attacked for 10 with my Prophetic Prisms.
All right, and here's that Vraska's Contempt. On the Scarab God, Darren will go up to 11 life.
Yeah, Darren still with a full grip of cards. It looks like he still has 5 remaining in his hand, yeah. And that Vraska's Contempt giving him a slight life buffer. You know, as it stands, Hunter can only attack for 4 damage here, and he definitely has to split it up against the Tezzeret, so it could be anybody's game here, but I still think Hunter is in the lead by the slightest amount. Oh, and he just drew a negate.
Oh, he did. So that Ethereum Cell available for mana for Darren Polterak, by the way. Otherwise, it seems like Tezzeret not long for this world.
Yeah, if Darren has a Fatal Push here and Hunter only sends 1 creature at Tezzeret, it's possible that Tezzeret could stay alive and keep pumping out those Ethereum Cells. With Darren stuck on 4 mana, definitely a thing he wants to do.
Oh, yep, and in fact, that is how Hunter did it. 1 at Tezzeret, 1 at you, no Fatal Push, Tezzeret down. Dang, that would have been cool!
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
Chandra plus here from Hunter. Another Virtuoso hits the table up to 4 energy. Glint Sleeve Siphoner will make that 5.
And he still has that negate backup. Yeah. So that was an excellent turn for Hunter. Although this Inventor's Fair, giving him 1 life.
Bing! Up to 10.
So Darren now has access to, let's count here, 6 mana. But he also has those Prophetic Prisms. And Herald of Anguish does cost 7. So he could definitely play it here.
There's a look at Inventor's Fair at the beginning of your upkeep. If you control 3 or more artifacts, you gain a life. Karn. How about Karn? Negate.
Uh-oh. Ooh, but I do see that Darren does have that Metallic Rebuke here.
There we go. Metallic Rebuke on the negate from Hunter. Karn will resolve. Bless you.
Did I click the switch?
No, I heard you.
Oh. Anyways, back to the game. We see the Karnstruck coming into play, and that's currently a 1-2-3-4-4. But unfortunately, this Chandra does exactly 4 damage.
Yes. Merchant's Dockhand that's been hiding out in Darren's hand for a long time, finally hitting the table there. Energy creators and users abounding on Hunter's side of the battlefield here. And here's the Chandra. It's going to take care of that construct created by Karn. Not looking pretty here for Darren.
It is interesting to see if Hunter will actually attack this Karn, because he doesn't have lethal damage currently. Ooh, his hand is looking very nice, though, as it is the Scarab God and Chandra Torch of Defiance.
So plenty of tools in hand for Hunter Cochran. An attack here. I think 2 are going at Karn.
That would make sense to me.
Down goes Karn. In comes the Scarab God. Back over to Darren.
Yeah, this is a tough-looking spot for Darren. He was putting a lot of stock into those 4-mana Planeswalkers, but Hunter just had the answer every single time. Servo Schematic.
Servo Schematic. I was like, what is this card? All right, Servo Schematic there from Darren. And once again, a Cog Workers Puzzle Knot. Going to make a couple more servos.
Not an Ethereum cell, another servo.
Man, an Antiquities War heading towards Chapter 3 would be so sweet right now. Oh, well. Servo Schematic, when it enters the battlefield or is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you make a 1/1 servo.
Mm-hmm. So I believe Hunter kind of debating here whether he wants to use the Scarab God on his upkeep or not, which I think he does. Although there aren't very many targets, I think.
I mean, do you want a 4/4 Merchant Dockhand?
He may have one
All right,
Siphoner.
we've got a Siphoner in there.
So up to 4 energy, that means he can draw 2 cards, but he's going to use the Scry ability first, stacking everything accordingly. Just really tight technical play from Hunter.
All right, we're going to use some energy here.
Draw 3 cards.
Nice.
And Hunter, I'm assuming he brought in every single duress and negate, so pretty good chance that he'll draw one of those off that draw 3.
All right, Chandra, number 3 here, played for Hunter so far this game. We're going to shoot down your merchant stockhand.
And I think this is enough attackers
Boom.
to take the game here.
In comes the team. Some servos will jump in front, but that is not enough. Hunter Cochran takes down this match here in round 9, 2-1 over Darren Polterak and his blue-black affinity deck. Wow. So that's pretty cool, though. Excellent job, Darren, bringing something cool, unique, and interesting to watch on camera. And if you weren't here in time, it did go off game number 1. So if you want to go back and watch that clip, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. But I really got to hand it to Hunter Cochran. You know, he was on the mulligan to 5 in game 2, down a game, and he really, you know, pulled himself up by the bootstraps and got the win.
All right, so Hunter Cochran taking down that match. We'll have more from round 9 here at Grand Prix Pittsburgh. Don't go anywhere. Coverage of Grand Prix Pittsburgh. We are here on day 2, round number 9. Maria Bertholdi and Andrew Brown hanging out with you. And we're in Good Morning Magic. That's the name of the show. And what that means is we get a chance to show you some of the cooler decks that were brought to this tournament. And the deck we're going to show you next is no exception. It's our time walk match here in round number 9. Roger Carroll on blue-black mid-range. That's not the one. It is Stephen Lycan on mono-blue aggro.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
Very, very, very excited to watch this match as we have limited all-star Slitherblade immediately onto the battlefield.
Yes, I love it. Welcome to the party, Slitherblade. You little unblockable 1/1 you. 1-2?
Game 2.
Game 2. Okay, excuse me. We're starting in game 2. You're right. Stephen Lycan did get game number 1, as you can see at the top of your screen. And there is one of my favorite cards from the set, Curious Obsession on this Slitherblade. Get in there, buddy. Get in there. Draw a card.
Yeah, that's Slitherblade allowing Steven to draw a card and get in for an extra damage.
Siren Storm Tamer there from Steven as well. It's going to be pretty sweet once we have a mana up to protect our little friend. Glint Sleeve Siphoner gets in for 2. And there's a Doomfall. All right, so the Storm Tamer will take the hit on that, leaving the Slitherblade untouched.
Yep, Storm Tamer doing his job, even without the mana.
Yes. All right, Slitherblade in once again for another 2. Let's draw a card. Another Storm Tamer. Mana up, go.
Well, it looks like Steven kind of choked on mana here. Only has 2 lands in play. But from the looks of Roger's hand, all he has is single target removal. So this
this is a beautiful thing.
This Slitherblade going to keep on slithering in.
Siren Storm Tamer doing great work on protection here for the Slitherblade. Glint Sleeve Siphoner in for another 2. Steven, I'm going to guess, doesn't care too much about that. Down to 16.
Yeah, Steven has 7 cards in his hand right now because the Slitherblade with this Curious Obsession has just been able to get him so many cards.
All right, so can you give us a little peek at what else Steven has got going on in his deck?
Well, at the top of his deck, I see 20 islands, 4 unsummons, 4 Tempest Djinn. So this is a straight mono blue deck.
All right, here's a Vraska's Contempt, and sure enough, the Storm Tamer is going to protect our little Slitherblade here. Go into exile.
So Steven just properly exiling his Siren Storm Tamer from that Doomfall. Or at least that's what I think.
The Contempt.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it looks like Steven still hasn't drawn another land here. And
wow.
He'll continue to add to his Air Force. But, you know, even though his creatures are getting removed, he's still just kind of poking in there for 2 every single turn and is currently has a life advantage over Roger.
Roger Carroll down to 13 here. Playing a deck that's been doing pretty well at this tournament, blue-black mid-range. The Scarab Gods, you know, took a little bit of a nap and it's back.
Took a bit of a nap?
Yeah. It was sleepy for a couple tournaments.
I see.
Here's another Doom. Oh, I love it. The Siren Storm Tamer doesn't even need that blue mana to help out here in a Doomfall situation.
Yeah, so this, all of these Siren Storm Tamers doing exactly what they were made to do, which is protect our little friend the Slitherblade here.
All right, Slitherblade getting in once again, and there's land number 3.
Yeah, this definitely opening up a lot of possibilities for Steven here. He can play 2 spells in a turn. He can play a Tempest Djinn. I'm pretty sure he has most of the cards in his deck because his hand is so big.
Awesome. All right, let's play a little flyer here. We're going to get a couple energy, but that is going to be Essence Scattered, so cancel that.
Yep, poor little Ether Swooper. Ooh, an unsummon. Constructed All-Star Unsummon.
All right, send that Glint Sleeve Siphoner back to your hand, Roger. Get that out of here. I love it. Champion of Wits here. We'll draw Roger some cards, but we're just playing an aggro tempo game as far as Stefan's concerned.
Yeah. I mean, I still like his situation here, given all the mana troubles because, you know, this Slither Blade is just continuously poking in, chipping in, getting in that damage.
Curious Obsession, card advantage as well. There's a Glint-Sleeve Siphoner for Roger Carroll, so Champion Siphoner back. But the Slither Blade doesn't care. It is unblockable. We found yet another land here. Another Ether Swooper going to swoop on in. Make that 2 and 4 energy.
Man, he had trips Ether Swoopers.
Just a 1/2 flyer.
Yeah, this was such a funny sequence given how these Storm Tamers were played with no mana available, but the Doomfall not really able to kind of get down that Slither Blade.
Yeah. And that's a pretty sweet double block, too, on that Glint-Sleeve Siphoner with those swoopers.
Yep.
When they attack, you can pay 2 energy. If you do, you get to make it servo.
Yeah, just given the amount of cards in Steven's hand and the considerable board advantage he has right now, I definitely like his chances in this match.
All right, another Siphoner and an Argwell's Bloodfast here for Roger Carroll.
This Bloodfast, though, going to be able to transform on the next turn.
That's true.
But Roger is just... He's out of options here because Steven is really presenting lethal damage here with the 2 flying creatures and that unblockable Slither Blade.
Ether Sphere Harvester on the table as well, and there's the handshake. Wow! Mono Blue Aggro taking down this match, improving to 7-2 here at Grand Prix Pittsburgh. Well, I changed my mind. I don't want to play the Antiquities War deck anymore. This one is the one that I want to play. That was great. I mean, I knew things had to kind of fall out in a certain way for that to happen the way that it did, but beautiful thing, beautiful thing.
Yeah, you can just slither on into your MTGO league and hopefully go 5-0.
All right, well, we'll have round 10 coming up for you in just a second. Don't go anywhere.